Hello, welcome to my poster. My name is Xuan Ren, and I'm from University of Pittsburgh. We all know that from individual neurons to larger functional brain regions, the brain is hierarchically organized on different spatial skills. In this study, we're interested in occipital-temporal cortex, which is a important brain area for visual feature processing and object recognition. Some studies have argued that visual features such as the orientation information is represented at fine spatial skills. However, the question of whether information in this brain region is represented on fine or coarse spatial skills during visual processing remains debatable. And past studies have also used the method to tackle this issue called spatial smoothing, in which they smooth the brain patterns before they do the classification. However, those spatial skills are not independent with each other. In other words, the information extracted from the finer spatial skill might be overlapping with the information represented on large spatial skill. And also, multivariate pattern analysis usually do not differentiate those spatial skills. So how do we overcome those problems if we want to study the information represented on different spatial skills? The method we used in this study as a solution to this problem is called a wavelet transform. It is a way of using a localized wavelet to decompose a signal into a hierarchically independent spatial skill. And here's the experiment design. There are 8 participants, and they completed the fMRI scan as they viewed 4 different categories: faces, places, movement objects, and fruits. And only the data from the 16 short runs were analyzed in this study. In our study, we used a dual-tree complex wavelet transform. And for each subject and each TR, we calculated 5 different unique spatial skills describing the coarseness based on this 3D volume data. And 28 oriented subbands were generated on each scale. And each of these oriented subbands has those wavelet coefficients which represent the response of a signal to the wavelet applied at a specific location within the given subband at a particular scale. And here's a demonstration of the wavelet decomposition. And I'm using the condition of phases. And with wavelet coefficients projected onto the 2D surface for 5 different skills. And the first row here is the brain region of occipital cortex, and second row is the ventral temporal cortex. And the values in this parenthesis indicates the number of coefficients transformed using the wavelet on each spatial scale. And we can see that as the scale gets larger, the resolution gets coarser. So for the classification, we use the variance of the coefficients in each 28 subband. We call it the global energy to represent the amount of information represented in each subband at each particular scale. And therefore, we pass those 28 features as input to the classifier to classify those 4 different categories. Please note that the features we used here for the classification is the amount of information represented on different spatial skills, not the actual brain activity values. And we also use the XGBoost classifier due to its high efficiency and combined with 16-fold cross validation method. And this is repeated for 5 different spatial skills. And here are some results. In the occipital cortex, we were able to classify those 4 different categories at coarser spatial skills. Here we can see that as scale number 4 and 5, and which also contain the low frequency information. And those results can be taken as the indication that there are significant differences in the amount of information represented at low frequency scales for those categories. And in VT, there's not significant differences in the amount of information represented on spatial skills for those categories. And the significance of those results were validated using the 10,000 times permutation test. So based on the results, we can see that the amount of information do differ between different spatial skills, and it's largely differentiable at larger spatial skills for different categories in occipital cortex. So we can see that a wavelet transform is not only can define the fine versus coarse spatial skills, but also can allow us to look at the neural representations based on a new measurement. So this study is also one of the few attempts of using wavelet transform to analyze the fMRI data. And I believe further exploration of the wavelet transforms will help us to get more interesting findings in your imaging studies. Yeah, I think that's it. If you have any other questions, send me email. I'm happy to chat more about it. Thank you.